Today on the podcast, I'm sitting down with someone who is not only a friend, but also a longtime creative partner, Dillon Stecyk. Dillon is one of the co-creators behind Aroabora Music Festival in Banff, an event that brings together music, mountains, and community in a way that is designed to feel both deeply intentional and refreshingly human. Over the years, Dillon and I, along with our ABF team, have built a business with a strong foundation built on purpose and authenticity. In this conversation, we talk about what it really takes to build a festival from the ground up, why relationships matter more than hype, and how creating meaningful experiences starts with staying true to yourself. I'm excited to dig into this one. Let's get going. I'm actually using Trevor's mug.
Looks good.
You can't have enough coffee.
This meeting is bullshit. Wasting my time.
Cool. All right. I am here on the podcast with my friend, Dillon Stecyk. Dillon, how you doing?
Good, Mark. How are you? Friend, business partner. What else would you say?
I don't know. I'm probably a pain in your ass sometimes. We're everything to each other.
We're everything. That's true.
We've been around each other for a long time. So, and we still talk to each other. So something good must be happening.
More green bars than red, always, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So we're business partners, like you said. We've been working together for over a decade, which is awesome. But what I wanted to talk to you about today specifically is a new project that we're working on. But I'm gonna break the news to you. You've been working on it a little bit harder than I've been working on it. So let's talk Aroabora.
The new music festival. So
yeah,
we've always had a vision, or I think it's started to form into a larger vision about producing a festival in Banff. Like we have our Banff Beer Fest, which we do in October, and it's limited in size and scope. The Cave and Basin's a beautiful venue, but we can only have it be so big. And with the transition of things in the event space, people are looking for more experiences that combine food, beverage, music into one kind of cohesive whole. We thought doing a music festival in Banff might be a fun project.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was the inspiration behind it? Was because really, if you look at what we do in Banff, the Banff Craft Beer Festival, we did that in October this year. The model clearly works, right? Like, we had, I think every session sold out. The vendors were amazing. What was the inspiration to do something different? Because a lot of people would say, okay, you have a model, it works, just keep doing that. Why the desire to do something kind of a 180?
I think in general, people like to go to festivals for different reasons. So the primary business model that we have focuses around sampling. So sampling beverage products, sampling food, and that's the core driver. That's the core marketing angle. That's what we kind of, sell to the people and to the vendors, that this is a sampling event. Pros and cons with that, you only get a sample cup that's 5 ounces, but you get to try 150 different types of beverages. So each business model or each kind of event model has different pros and cons. And I think the inspiration around this one was we do a lot of sampling events. We find that a lot of the areas at our sampling events where there's music and dancing seem to have the highest energy. People, they go samples, but then they always seem to navigate to those kind of pockets where there's a dance floor and there's people hanging out, and they're able to socialize, but still be in an environment where they can kind of move their body. So the inspiration from, at least my perspective, was that we want to create something with that in mind as the focal piece, and then utilize all the logistical stuff that we've built through the other festivals to bring that all together.
Yeah. So Banff, I think for a lot of people who've been to Banff, it's a special place. So what is it about Banff that makes it a unique venue for something like this?
Well, yeah, Banff is beautiful. Like, it's, a world-class destination. We all know this. People will go to Banff just to feel like they're connected to, Mother Earth, connected to nature. The idea of getting out to the mountains, living in Calgary, is just like a staple in life, right? It's like, oh, I'm getting out to the mountains this weekend. It's a nice kind of reset on the daily grind of things. Banff in general, the mountains in general, and Banff specifically, has a lot of people would say like unique kind of mystical kind of energy to it, right? Like when you get to the mountains, you kind of feel it when you're on that Highway 1 and you kind of get out of the foothills, and as soon as you enter that first pass into the mountains, things start to change. Like your attention kind of looks upward. Now there's these massive peaks above you, and the daily issues that you normally seem to have can kind of take a back seat for a moment, a day, hopefully a weekend.
Yeah, it's a special place. Um, let's talk about the name then, because I get asked that a lot, and I'm sure you do too. Um, Aroabora, what's the thought behind that?
Yeah, so Aroabora.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so initially it was, what are things in nature that provide a sense of awe? So, what are things that you can see, that you can experience, that make you kind of stop? Maybe you have your camera, but it almost makes you put down your camera for a moment because you just want to be captivated by the beauty of the experience. And we didn't want to take Aurora Borealis specifically because we wanted to also create something unique. And so we were kind of playing with these ideas of making up a new name, but then having an awe-inspiring experience in nature. And the branding of the Northern Lights just always came back to the table. So we kind of like kept that, we bookmarked that, and then we started going through, options of names. And one of the names that was just presented was Aroabora. And we kind of looked at it, and there's a variation of the spelling. We liked how the A's could be turned into mountain tops, and we liked how it was kind of gave you the idea of the Northern Lights without actually meaning the Northern Lights. So eventually we landed on the spelling and the name Aroabora, like what we have, and we think it covers the aspect of being in awe with nature, seeing the Northern Lights, while also being something that we can take and make our own and design from the ground up. So that's where it started. And then actually, because I nerd out on this stuff all the time, I went into like the etymology of the name and what the different pieces together can actually mean. And depending on which culture you go into, Aroa, like Aroa, can mean a variety of different things, but a lot of the times it's like the feeling of love, the feeling of truth, like the feeling of an age, this type of thing. This was before we even knew that this was going to be the name, right? And then we just landed on that, and I kind of got into the weeds about what it could mean. And then Bora is a slang term that means like let's go. So Aroabora together is like, let's go on this new vision, this new trajectory, this new kind of collective imagination that we feel like we're trying to bring to the table.
I love that. So the concept in general, because when you think about a music festival, it could be a million different genres. So what was kind of discussed at the beginning, and how did you kind of land on the genre that you did land on, and what is that genre?
So I think when people think of electronic music in general, it's like a too wide of a brushstroke. It's almost like saying music. It's like, well, what type of music? And then there's obviously, endless different types of music you can have. There's rock, okay, but then inside rock, there's all these different variations.
Right.
And I think in general, electronic music, when people think of that, they think of the Vegas club or the downtown nightlife. And my personal experience just hasn't been that. It's been the opposite. It's been, being in nature, playing music around a campfire at a festival, a camping festival in the woods, like that type of thing. That was my kind of first initiation into it. And so for that reason, I think when people say EDM or electronic music, they have this idea of what it means, but there's melodic music, there's trance, there's variations of combinations, there's dubstep, there's probably more genres of electronic music than you could count. But so we found that with that being an electronic music festival, there were so many avenues we could draw from that would tie into kind of the vision of what we wanted to create, being awe-inspiring, feeling like we're like the drive into the mountains, feeling like you're kind of getting up and out of yourselves in a good way, not as a form of escapism, but as a way to integrate fun and life. And like I think a lot of people have these segmented ideas that like, well, I'm this way when I work and I'm this way when I go out on the weekend, and they kind of have those two different personalities. but the people I've met and the people in my life that I've been inspired by, and I'm sure it's potentially similar for you, they've kind of been able to integrate all these different aspects where like what they do is fun, but they also work hard at it. And so, it kind of all folds together. So the genre of music being that, I think it just was the easiest way where we could pick a lane without being stuck too narrowly and defined, but also people know that, electronic music has a certain beat to it. There's a certain rhythm to it, and we can pivot and, provide all sorts of different avenues of electronic music underneath one banner.
Yeah. Okay. So when you think about that, like to your point, there's so many variations of this type of music. So a couple things. One is, how did you land on, like, was it always going to be electric music? Did you talk about, you know, could it have been a country music festival? Could it have been a rock festival? Or how did you land on that as the musical piece component to begin with?
Right. So I think outside of the market that has shown like, music festivals in general, there's more of that type of genre starting than, say country. Country might be popular in Alberta and specific places, but it's not maybe as popular as a whole. Banff being a destination, we wanted to attract, international visitors. A lot of the logistical set up needed on stage, and with it being on a shoulder season between winter and spring, those had to be considered. Full band setup, electric guitars and all of that. Like it just adds layers of complexity and layers of logistics that on a year one seemed almost like, okay, that was like, it was too much of something to kind of wrap our head around. We do after parties at our beer festivals and our sampling events, and we kind of got our feet wet a little bit using that genre. And we had experiences where we had rock bands and stuff, and just like the transition of artists on and off stage was a thing. Setting up the band takes more time than just plugging in a DJ deck. So there's the logistical side of it, as well as kind of like where electronic music seems to be going for the general direction.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then, so from that point, like you talked about, even just within this genre, there's a spectrum of different types of artists, musicians, DJs that you could get. So how do you put together a group of artists where there's some sort of cohesive theme, or was that something that you were conscious of as you kind of selected what artists you're choosing?
Yes, yes and no. I say the first year we were wanting to have a specific look and feel, so the branding and everything resonated. But then also we needed to be able to secure those artists, and we had to convince them to come to Banff for a festival that was its first year. So there's way more aspects that we didn't really think about when we were kind of starting that initial planning. But why this type of genre that we've landed on? And we have a range, so like we would say it's melodic house. There's a little bit of techno, but we wanted to create a unique sound that if people came to this festival in Banff, they could leave going like, okay, that is a specific sound for Banff. Because I've been to places in Tulum, Europe, there's different cultures that have a different type of music. And when you go to the beaches of Mexico versus, the south of France versus like the Warehouse Club in Berlin, there's a slight variation or a massive variation on the type of music that is played. And so we wanted to kind of let the music showcase the environment that we're in a beautiful way without taking away from it. And I think a lot of the music in the EDM scene that would maybe be played in the Vegas clubs or like the Berlin underground venues and things of that nature would almost detract from the beauty of Banff. Whereas the music, kind of what we're trying to focus on, is we want it to complement. We want it to feel like it's meant to be in that space. And that includes like, rhythmic beats, stuff that you can kind of follow and you understand where it's headed, not janking you all over the place, up and down and sideways, and flashing lights that are kind of disorienting. Like we want it to all be very smooth and feel like you can kind of be at peace in that music while also in that environment.
Yeah. So not to put you on the spot, but as far as the entertainment goes, do you have a couple of examples of who you have and kind of what kind of vibe they represent specifically?
Yeah, so we released the lineup, the main stage lineup. On Friday we have a DJ named CRI, Cry. The middle DJ is Simon Doty, and then the headliner is a Canadian legend named A-Track, who's been around in the scene for a long time. The first two DJs on the Friday are more melodic house, I would say. They're kind of going to get people warmed up. Okay, this is the beat of the festival. And then A-Track is going to come with more of that higher energy upbeat. Not saying these other guys aren't higher energy, but they're a little bit more, I would say, in the melodic scene. Whereas A-Track might, get you dancing, kind of jumping up and down a little bit more in what people would imagine a music festival to kind of be. That being said, they each all are going to pick their own set and create from their music library a unique set for Aroabora. So we've, kind of explained the vision and what we're looking for. So I'm excited to see what everyone kind of brings to the table. And then on the Saturday, we have Brad Easy, MC4D, and then the headliners pair for Kuva. So it kind of goes opposite. Brad Easy is going to be more start the evening on the main stage with high energy, kind of more club ish. I say that in brackets because not really, but more of that. Okay, I could be dancing at, I could see myself at 12:30 at a club with this music.
Yeah.
And then MC4D is going to go a little bit more into melodic / pop, a little bit of a slighter transition. And then the headliner pair for Kuva on the Saturday night is really beautiful, really melodic. It's going to kind of send you up into outer space and away for the weekend. So we wanted to end it on a note where people kind of feel they walk away in an elevated state because of the mountain environment, the music, and they're like, wow, that was incredibly unique. And, that's, I understand what they're trying to create by, putting the sound together that way.
Yeah, I love that. So you mentioned that it's a festival. We talked about it being a festival. So there's music's a big component of that, but there's typically other components to festivals. What other variables are you guys thinking about right now? Like are you bringing in, I know talking to Bill, our other business partner, there's always someone on stilts that he wants to have in or whatever. Like what aside from music, what other kind of entertainment things are you thinking about?
Yeah, so the music's the biggest component, like that's why people are going. But we want to also have like art installations. So stuff that would, nod to us being in nature. So animal art installations. We're gonna have a market. So, some that people can buy specific things that might, whether it's festival gear or beautiful paintings. So there's going to be a market vendor area. There's going to be a food truck area where you can eat and get food. There's going to be art installations kind of dispersed throughout the main area of the festival. And we're hosting at the Banff train station. So it's a very unique building. The main stage is outside. The VIP section is inside the train station. But we're also going to have a community stage. So, significantly smaller than the main stage. Not a ton of people can fit in it because it's not a huge space. But we want to showcase some local upcoming artists as well and really tie in that grassroots aspect of the community. So when you enter the festival, there'll be, food trucks, a market venue, the main stage at the far end, the community stage over to your right, and then art installations kind of interspersed throughout. And, it's our first year, so we're going to try to pull all these together and make it, beautiful and showcase it like how we want Banff to be presented to our customers as well as the world at large. But yeah, every year I know we're going to grow. We're going to make better decisions and kind of get better art pieces, and it's going to grow with the vision.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's always the thing, right? And we've done that with other festivals where it's like, it's capturing that vision year one. And it sounds like, we have the right, you know, artists in place, right? Partners in place. Let's talk about the date, because I think the date presents kind of a fun opportunity for people because with it being in March, correct me if I'm wrong, all the ski hills will still be open. Is that right?
Yeah, they will be. And so we wanted it to be a music festival, primarily number one, but we wanted to offer people an experience that was going to be more than that as well. So, you could go skiing for 2 days and then come attend a music festival. If you've never been to Banff, it's the perfect reason to travel to Banff now. If you like music, you're like, okay, well, I want to go for skiing. Now there's a music festival. I can kind of double down on the weekend and do two birds, one stone in that way. So ski hills will still be open. Weather will be starting to warm up. But I think the most significant, reason we chose that date, and it is essentially the start of like the real new year, right? Like, we have our new year January 1st, but it's still in the dead of winter. But the real new year is when spring emerges from the winter months, right? And people would call that the equinox, where day and night are equal, and now the daytime starts getting a little bit longer than the evening. And that happens, the middle of March. So our festival is the weekend after, to kind of, give a nod and an acknowledgement to that shifting of the seasons, that shifting of time. And one of the reasons that was important to us when we were kind of designing things was that's been held in reverence and as an important aspect for pretty much every Aboriginal culture that's been around, every ancient culture that's been around. They had celebrations around the equinoxes and the solstices. So it's a good time to reset, realign, and reestablish a vision for the next year. The days are going to start getting longer. So there's going to be, more sunlight. You're going to have more energy, everything shifting, awakening, the buds on the trees, the flowers, the animals are coming out of hibernation. So that timeline we feel like aligns better with really the changing of the seasons. And, going back to the name, what we're trying to bring about is, this shift in the collective, the shift in like people's ideas of what it means to, have fun, how to integrate. A lot of people are like, well, I don't go dancing or I don't go to a music festival. That's, I grew out of that, or I left that back in my days. But then they might, don't necessarily exude joy in their day-to-day life. So it's one of those things where like, well, maybe if you feel that way, we can introduce you to something that might be surprising to you,
Yeah.
and hopefully change your perspective a little bit on that.
Absolutely. Well, I think and that's the thing, right? Is there something, I think introducing people, I'm always surprised because, you guys have kind of introduced me to this type of music over the last couple of years with some of the after parties that we've hosted and stuff like that. But, I'm actually always surprised at the demographic that's there. It isn't just, certainly there's some younger people there, but there's people, I would say, 20 to 50, 60 kind of thing, all enjoying the kind of energy that's out there. Is that kind of what you're going for, as a widespread of like demographic?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the reason with that is a lot of the times that music is only showcased in places where, I wouldn't want to go. Like, I don't particularly like the nightlife per se in cities, right? It's kind of like, I don't necessarily want to be in the club scene, but I like that type of music. And so festivals in general, and I think we do a good job with this with our sampling events, but are meant to bring people together from all walks of life, from 18 to 50 to 60, from, people who love to sample the product, to people who don't drink at all but want to sample food, to people who just want to be there for the music, for people who just want to feel a part of community. And I think that's what is a major aspect that's lacking in the modern world, are these places that just bring everyone together for the aspect of community without it being too niche down to like club scene community or like cowboy rodeo scene community. And, in order to bring people from all these different variations, you kind of need to have something that's unique enough where everyone can kind of get around it, which I think good music, good rhythmic music, music that's not, detrimental to your ears or doesn't make you kind of like cringe in horror. But, if you heard it on a train, or if you heard it sitting on like a bench, you might be just find yourself naturally bumping your foot to it just because it has a kind of an approachable beat. So yeah, I think that's kind of the angle we're going for, is trying to develop a new community in a sense that doesn't have as many barriers that there appears to be in the world today, and doing it in a way where fun can also still be healthy. If this idea of fun being, oh, well, if you go have fun, it's like an escapist tactic because your life, or these type of things, or, oh, if you go do that, you're escaping your circumstances. But as people and as culture in general, like gathering around music and food and beverages, it's so coded in our DNA from us doing it around campfires thousands of years ago, where we would gather and,
Mhm.
eat an animal that was hunted, and someone would bang a drum, and like, that it's just so rooted in who we are as a people in general, outside of any like barriers, that if you can bring all those things together and kind of remind people of that, of, that people are people, you know, music, food, and beverage seems to be approachable by everyone.
Yeah.
We think we can kind of generate some curiosity there.
Yeah. One of the things, like, y- you know, for me, and I know for us as a group, like community is such a big thing. We live in a world where, in like social media is, there's good aspects, there's bad aspects. It seems to me that taking over, like, AI, it feels like it's taking over, chunks of industries. Every day you hear about this, AI taking over this or that. So what I love about what you said is, something like this brings people together. You can't replace a festival. You can't replace a special place like Banff with AI. And so it's like this coming together that, and I love also the point you brought about, like, you know, people of different ages feeling included, and just bringing everybody together. Was that always kind of like part of the mission statement, I'll say?
I think it's been something that we recognized over time with our sampling events, that, we might have maybe not thought about that when we started the brand, was like, oh, we want to generate a community. But it's been something that's been fed back to us by people who have attended our events, and they're like, yeah, there's just something about it. There's a different energy, there's a different vibe. It seems like everyone can get along. You have all walks of life. And I think with the new festival, we really wanted to kind of embrace that. And, that being said, that's where, like, the selection of the music came from, the location, all those things. We didn't want it to be too narrow of branding, but almost branded in a way where, in our opinion, everyone who wants that sort of experience would resonate with it.
Yeah.
So it's, not for everyone, but if you don't want fun, or like you don't want like a more blissful life or these type of things, which I think everyone does inherently, then it's gonna be up their alley.
Yeah. So going back to the dates for a second, because it is in March. What I love about it is there's really no way around it. We have to really embrace the fact that whatever the weather is. So, what I love about that is, if people are coming for skiing, they got their snow gear on. So, because it's outside in March, it could be plus 15, it could be minus 15. So, how do you deal with that? Like, does that make you nervous, or how do you embrace the fact that that's just the way it is?
Yeah, it definitely makes us nervous. If we could, have a magic wand and make the weather be plus 15 and sunny and blue sky with the northern light shining above, like, we would do that. But I think in general, with it being a music festival at that time of the year in Banff, a lot of our branding has, animals dressed up in like outdoor gear. And really, like, when you're dancing, you put off a lot of heat. So it's one of those things where if you're moving, and we want people to be moving, um, you're gonna not feel the cold nearly as much as if you were just standing still. It's like skiing, right? People still hit the slopes when it's cold, but because they're in an experience where they're dressed for it, they know what to expect, and they're going for the experience of skiing, uh, over, them worried about the weather.
Right.
So
Right.
with,
Yeah.
the music festival, it's like, yeah, of course, those are things that we're concerned about, but we're always watching. But we're also building it in a way where we're gonna have cool things where people can warm up. We want people to dress up in fun, funky clothing. Like, wear that '80s ski outfit that you put away in the closet that you haven't pulled out, or go to Value Village and pick some funky stuff and put it together. And one of the things I like about it being outside, which is different than, say, indoor festivals, is you can kind of get very creative with what your artistic expression is for what you put on, right?
Yeah.
Like, inside you can only do so much. It's normally like less is more on an inside event, because you get really hot when you're dancing, and that's why people don't want layers. But being outside, it's like you can kind of have this whole scope. So I'm pumped to
Yeah.
see what people dress up as. They're going to come in groups of, themes. People are going to have unique outfits, and it just really adds to the fun, right? People like to do that, and they like to show themselves in a creative way. So one of the things we're going to push is for people to, come out with all your funkiest outfits and showcase yourself that way.
Yeah. I love the foundation of it. A couple words that you used that I wrote down as we were chatting. So, obviously Banff provides this beautiful background. You can't get, it's iconic worldwide. Everybody knows that Banff is amazing. The sense of community that we're really trying to double down on, that you guys have prioritized as important, and just that kind of inclusive vibe where we want people to come, we want people to feel welcome. I think having that kind of as the foundation, where do you see that, what's your vision then for growing the festival, or am I getting too ahead of it? Like when you look 5 years from now, how do you define success as this grows?
Ooh, good question. I think in general, there's some massive festivals around the world that, bring in like huge economic impact for the region. Whole towns are supported by a weekend festival in some places. They get enough income that, 2 days for the whole year, and the town survives off that. So from an economics perspective, I think, keeping it to a point where Banff can handle the amount of people. I've been to Banff in the summer. It can handle a lot of people. There's the facilities and everything there that can manage all of it. But we also don't want to take away from it being beautiful in the mountains. So for growth, I would say, we're not thinking too far ahead about what we could do with, this brand and this identity. We're going to get our seed planted well, curate it, tend to it properly, make sure it is, sprouts the way we want it to. But I think with the intention and the collective energy that we're kind of putting out there to bring this vision to life, we're going to start getting shown that it's going to start driving itself in a way. I have a feeling. There was a funny thing that happened, and I'm not sure if you've known or if you saw it on our post or whatnot, but last Monday, we put tickets on sale for the music festival, right? Like we had been planning it for months, but no one else really knew too much about it. Like there was a couple posts here and there. And then on Monday, we kind of set in motion this activation. Okay, Aroabora is happening. Tickets are on sale, like to the community, to the people in Calgary and the world. And this vision is happening. Help us bring this to life. Believe in this concept, believe in the things that we're talking about. And I don't think you can write these things. They're just too perfect. But the next night, like no joke, the next night after we launched ticket sales, the sky above Calgary and Banff lights up with Northern Lights. So the best it's ever been. And I think people are saying 20 years, 25 years. Oh, the Northern Lights have not been this good in decades. And, we have a post about it, like coincidence or not, we believe that these things are real. And, I think that sort of thing happening when we're putting this vision out there and we want people to, embrace the meaning behind what we're saying and the timing of it and kind of reading between the lines of what the festival can mean for them. And then we get a nod. How I looked at it was a nod from whatever you say, Mother Earth or Gaia or Source, whatever you want to call it, being like, yeah, we're giving you the thumbs up. Like, this is it's time to rock and roll. And here is our acknowledgement of that happening. It was just so perfect that I was laughing to myself for 2 days straight. It felt oh man, that couldn't have been better. So yeah, I just when people wonder, it's well, where are you wanting to take it? What are you wanting to do with this? What is it going to become?
Mm-hmm.
I truly think it will begin to take form on its own. We'll be the stewards of it, and we'll try to guide it and keep the boundaries on the energy behind it. But I think all the people that are going to buy in and believe in the festival and see what we're building and want to be a part of it, it's going to start just becoming its own thing. And that's the most exciting part.
Absolutely. So for you personally, because I know there's a lot of work, with these types of events behind the scenes, and there's a lot of moving parts, and, you have to get ahead of yourself on a lot of things, because it's just it's not a linear do this, then do this, then do this. There's a lot of moving parts in the background. And so for you, being kind of responsible for a lot of those. Um, when it launches, so to your point last Monday, when all of a sudden you can say, okay, tickets are on sale, and everything that you've been as a group working towards kind of starts, taking shape and unfolding. How gratifying is that to you to just kind of see what's been in your mind kind of starting to manifest itself out as you share the story about the festival?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, personally for me, it's been something I've wanted to do for quite a long time. We're in the event scene, so I always thought that there was going to be a potential to do something like this, but we weren't like a music festival. We've only had after parties for a couple years. It's only probably been 3 or 4 years that our dancing music components have really started to blossom and take form. But, after a couple of the first music festivals I've been to, like, over a decade ago, I was always like, "You could do this perfectly." Like, you could do this in a way where it would provide an experience for someone that could be as transformative as anything that they could, hope to seek. People go on long vacations, they go on Vipassanas, they go to Asia, Europe, Africa. They do these experiences to have some sort of transformation. They want to see the world in a different way. They want to change their perspective. They want to add new, photos to their Instagram reel, like whatever it is, they have these adventures. And a lot of the time, some people don't seek out adventures that seem too lofty or too kind of crazy for them until someone maybe introduces them to it or grabs their hand and says, come with me, like, let me show you. And so for me personally, being able to kind of curate and design this with the help of, Bill and yourself and Trevor and our whole team, but really try to bring that vision from a seed all the way to like, hey, planting it and then, tickets going on sale. To your point, the fact that people are buying tickets is just like, oh, right. It's like, it's a relief, right? Like, who knows? It could have landed flat and no one would have, picked it up and ran with it. But that's not the case at all. The momentum is building every day. We feel it. We feel it in the community locally. Even people in as far as Vancouver and out east in Canada are messaging us for details. So yeah, it allows you to have the evidence and acknowledgement that you can, create something by thought, put effort into it, put intention into it, work on it over and over and over and over again. And the more that you do that, the more that you can see that thought form itself in the world for other people to experience.
Yeah.
And then once other people can tap into it, now all of a sudden, now you're getting like compounding effects. It's like compounding interest in your investments. Now, like more people are believing in it and they're resonating with the idea and they're bringing their energy into it. And it just starts snowballing in that way.
Yeah, no, I love that. And you're totally right. Like before you kind of launch something like this, it's like anyone who has ever done an event, because there's a level of vulnerability there, right? Like
Yeah.
when you put it out to the world, it could be like, okay, what are you talking about? This is a terrible idea. So yeah, when you see it kind of like get received in a really exciting way, it's kind of like, okay, I wasn't crazy.
hmm Yeah. And I think that's where like, I've been to festivals, I've seen festivals, but even when we launched ticket sales in general, like people were buying it. And that was good kind of, acknowledgement. But, back to the point of like, I, we as a group, a collective, I don't think could have asked for a bigger round of applause than Mother Nature showing up in the way that
Yeah.
she did. It was perfectly written. The timing couldn't have been better. It's going to be something that we utilize in our storytelling for years to come with the festival. Our next intention is to, bring the collective together and be like, if a lot of minds come together and believe something, it can truly happen. So we'll see if we can do that again at the festival, have the skies light up and have the Northern Lights showcase themselves above the music festival. And, I think it will give people more of the belief that what we're building, what we're trying to curate, has some real weight and power to it, and people always want to be, tie their ship to a sturdy sailor and a sturdy ship and that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's just it is fun. Yeah, just like I said, I've been kind of on the periphery only because my hopefully I'll bring some strengths to the to the organization at this point, but you've been really diving into your strengths to get it to where it is right now. So that for me was what I wanted to talk to you about, because watching it, I feel like almost from an outsider's perspective, it's been pretty cool to see what you guys have all put together. And it's really exciting for me to see the energy, like you said, of other people coming in and being like, okay, like I get this, like what can I do to be a part of it? And so, it's something that, taking in what our expertise are, but doing something that's obviously, different. That's cool. That's what it's all about, is like, continuing to evolve. So nice work, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think we've talked about this for years, and the idea of evolution and, the evolution of the self and of who you want to be. And just in general, I think a lot of people feel stuck, right? They feel like, oh, I want to do this, but I can't because I don't have any evidence that I can do that. And, if I start small, then it's not worth it. Or if I try too big, I'll fail, and, all these type of things. And what we've talked about for years is just starting as small as possible, because the momentum generates very, very quickly, but quicker than you could imagine it. And so when people, I hope if someone listens to this and they have their own idea of something they want to do or something they want to create, first look at it and ask yourself, why are you wanting to do that? First of all, is it just for you? Is it only because you have these personal goals, or, whether they're selfish or altruistic or whatnot? Like, what's the reason behind it? Is it because you want to drive a Lamborghini or fly on the jet or what, which are all fine and good things, right? Like, I don't hate capitalism at all, but you seem to get the momentum of the world at large if you can create something that is going to benefit more than just yourself. And so when people look to, if they want to make a change, or they want to, tap into the little bit of that creme de la creme, the middle of the cinnamon bun that we all, know and love so much, how can you be of service in a way that's larger than yourself? And then if you can figure out how you can do that while also enjoying that process for you, you have a endless, eternal well of energy you can draw from, because it's no longer just you doing it for you. There's a higher mission. There's a bigger kind of calling. And business people, I think in generally, but business people specifically, but everyone generally, it's beneficial to look at it from that perspective. There was a podcast that happened, it was a week or so ago. I'm sure everyone knows of Tony Robbins. He's, big, massive motivational speaker, but also a billionaire. Like, he's done it all in the sense of coaching the world's greats, from Wayne Gretzky to Oprah to, it's like, I'm sure if you've never heard of Tony Robbins, I recommend that you just Google his name, because he's a power.
You have to be living in under a rock to not hear Tony.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's awesome.
He's a beauty, and he vibrates with so much energy when he gets on stage. And it's why people pay tens of thousands of dollars to meet him live and to experience his energy, and he charges people up. And that quality in people, everyone can have. You just need to find your own calling, your own mission, the thing that for you lights you up. And this podcast he was doing it with another guy named Alex Ramosi, super successful, built and sold a company for 50 million. But kind of had the opposite attitude. And he was kind of like, I'm just doing this because I have to. It's a duty to me. I'm okay to suffer with it. I'll just like carry the load because, it's better than not carrying the load. And I want to provide for my family. And, he's hyper successful, so he wouldn't listen to a lot of people. Like, most of people wouldn't be at the level where he would take their advice. But Tony was probably one of the only guys that they could sit down and have a real chat, and the advice would land in a way where he might actually listen to it. And they were kind of starting off the conversation, and Tony just immediately like snuffed out that kind of thought process. He was like, right. I see it, like, you're hyper successful. I see all, but you're always up here. You're always in your mind. You're thinking about things. You're calculating. And he's like, you're lacking living from the heart. And he's like, you can make billions of dollars, but if you never live from the heart, you're going to never be satisfied. You'll always chase the numbers. You'll always, and like, this is coming from a guy who has more numbers than most people. And he's still come to those conclusions of, don't chase the things that will never fulfill you anyway, because, you know, you're going to spend enough time doing it that you might as well chase the things that are fulfilling to you, because it's going to take the same amount of work. And then if you don't chase the things that are fulfilling to you, you'll end up at the destination that you don't want to be anyway. And then you'll go, damn, I wish I would have had that insight 2 decades ago. And the podcast was just amazing because it was two, like, you know, powerhouses in their own right. One was younger. I think Alex is 36 or something. Tony's older, a lot more experience. And just being like, let me share some words of wisdom to someone who's immensely successful, but doesn't seem to have what Tony has, where like his energy is so contagious and he's just able to light up rooms just by being in them because he has a higher mission. And it was such an awesome pod. It was only an hour, so I highly recommend everyone listen to it. But you just saw the wheels clicking and being like, yeah, I guess I see it. Like, why wouldn't I choose to be enthusiastic and choose to be pumped on my mission and to choose something I care about? Because I'm going to have to do things anyway. So I might as well do the things that make me happy. And the people always argue, though, like, oh, well, you know, that must be nice. You know, I worked at this and this and I can't do that. But that's not the proper way to think about it. It's like, okay, well, you have things you care about. And, you know, the money question always comes into play. We all have to deal with bills. We all have to deal with finances. But it's like, if you had $1 billion in the bank, whatever, what would you choose to do? And I think this is like, you know, I said this on another podcast we were talking about, but it's a great thought experiment to kind of help discover some self-awareness in that pursuit. Like, what would I do if I had the time? And, you know, even if I relax for 5 years, but I'm only 40, okay, I'm relaxing till 45. Like, there's going to be a mission. There's going to be something that you care about, some pain or suffering that you went through, that if you could help other people to not experience that, it would be immensely fulfilling for you. It would be lucrative for you. You're going to put more energy into it than anything else. And the world, tying it back to what we're doing with this festival, things will fall away for you in that way. Things will open up. Barriers will start to fall down easier than if you're trying to do something that's not in alignment with who you are and kind of a higher vision. So yeah, like, I think we're doing that with this festival. I feel like people are called to that vision because it kind of exudes that experience, the feeling of awe, the feeling of mystery, the feeling of magic. And yeah, it's something that we're pretty pumped and proud of to bring to the collective.
I love it. Yeah, well said, for sure. I think that's the biggest thing, is like, when I see what you guys have done and why you've done it, it's been a very thoughtful process to this point. And obviously something that is authentic, and something that you're proud to have created. So I'm definitely excited to just see where this goes. And yeah, thanks for taking the time to share the story. And I'll see you in March.
Sounds good, buddy. Yeah, thanks for wanting to sit down and chat about it. And yeah, to anyone listening, we hope you come to Aroabora. Come check it out and tap into what we're building. And it's going to be an amazing first year. And if you can't make it here this year, we will, you know, run this back every year as long as we can.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, man.
Okay, later, buddy. Bye.
Okay, take care.
See ya.
Thanks so much for listening to the Create Podcast. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. See you next Wednesday.